Hello and welcome to another cup of coffee with me, Sandy. This time we are going across the pond and we're going to be speaking to a girlfriend of mine who lives in New York but is so well traveled. In fact, she's a travel journalist, writer, and raconteur as well. And her name is IRVINA LEW. And I'm actually waiting for her to accept the invitation so that we can talk to her and find out all about her life. And I can see that she's in the meeting, and I'm going to accept her. IRVINA, I'm admitting you now. Hello and welcome. Hello, IRVINA, how are you? You're on screen, but take your mute off. You're on mute, please take your mute off. IRVINA,
Right. I've got it.
okay?
I took it off.
Oh, I'm
Good.
very pleased you've taken it off because we can see you full screen. Now, I can see you full screen, but nobody knows who you are yet. So I'm just going to introduce you. They know that I'm speaking to my girlfriend who's in New York, IRVINA LEW, and you're a travel writer, raconteur, journalist, and all these wonderful things in your life. But when I met you, you didn't start off that way. I met you, you were a school teacher with a brainwave because you and your husband, Bob, he was a wonderful photographer and you had this gift for writing. And during school holidays, you decided that you were going to be traveling around and enjoying your time. And actually, very cleverly, IRVINA, look at me. You're not, you're looking at the side. Thank you. We want to see your face, not your profile. And you very cleverly established your second section of your life from a school teacher to a travel journalist and writer. Now, everybody knows who I'm speaking with and what we're going to be discussing today. How are you?
I'm wonderful. And you look marvelous.
Well,
It is
I'm absolutely fine.
it's so funny that we haven't seen each other to hug or kiss in a very long time. But with the technology of Zoom, it's magical. I'm thrilled to see you.
Absolutely. And um, more so me, because as you say, you know, we haven't met for a long time. But when I met you, it was, we met in Spain, but then I really met you in New York.
Right.
And I met you and Bob together, and you were still a teacher.
Right.
And then you had this brainwave long before I think other people did to establish yourself after your first career, which was teaching. It,
Can I just go back to when we did meet in Spain?
sure.
It was the summer of 1992. And I had I was invited serendipitously to study at the University of Salamanca. I won a scholarship as a teacher. I was already planning to retire a few years later, but I was eligible. And 1992 was the Expo in Seville. Of
Absolutely.
course, it was the Olympics. So I was already, when I met you in 1992, very strategically and already writing about travel. So if I could just be very quick and tell you how it happened,
Sure.
because part of it was serendipitous, like Spain, but without being humble, a lot of it I just created out of I got married at 19 after studying at the Sorbonne. I had a baby at 20. I was teaching. We didn't have money to travel. And in 1976, I was hired to write a grant proposal for the government. Okay, they paid me $500. It was money from the heavens.
Absolutely. Big
And
money in those
was
days.
not only was it big money, at that time, you could get a charter to Paris for $299 a person with a hotel for 5 nights. So I took that $500, added 100, and invited my husband. Now, you know, Bob was a sailor.
Absolutely, like
Bob
me.
always, I love him dearly. He's gone 12 years, but Bob always had money to sail, to join a yacht club, to take sailing vacations. He never had money to go to Paris. So I paid for that trip to Paris. And he happily brought money to take me to Maxime's for dinner. And we stayed overnight in this fabulous Chateau d'Artigny in the Loire Valley. The first time I was in a five-star Roland Chateau. That was 76. By the mid 80s, I wrote a book for working moms. And you tell me when to stop. But they gave me a media tour. So now this teacher, wife, mother,
And
has
everything else, and sailor.
and sailor. And at that time, I was a political activist. Now a limousine is coming to my front door, taking me to the airport. I'm flying just to Cleveland or Albany or St. Louis, American cities, Seattle, but I'm going to stay in a hotel and I'm being paid from the book. Then Ziploc hires me as a national spokesperson. In 3 years, I went to 30 cities. Okay, I'm loving the travel. And I decide this is going to be my next life. And of course, by 1990, my book came out in France and I went, but Bob and I traveled by boat. And I didn't love sailing, never, but I loved getting off the boat in little ports and finding the cafes or the restaurants or the art galleries or the cute shops. And then I started writing about it, and he started, in order to get my pictures of my restaurants published, he took pictures. And we ended up having a his and her duo for like 14,
Absolutely,
15
an
years.
amazing combination of writing, photographing, but sharing all your time together, and this luxury that you didn't have before.
Never had that luxury, but also I never had anything really in common with my husband. And the last 15 years of our marriage, when we were dining here and there and traveling, he went to the boat show in Florida every year.
Why
So,
not? I would have done the same.
so we drove from New York, and I arranged to go to different restaurants and spas along the way. And he took pictures and I wrote. So we would go on this vacation and I would have 5 or 6 articles paid, it not only paid for the vacation, it gave us the most wonderful, what I earned, but best was that we worked together. We
Yes.
would choose the photographs together. It was the best time of, we were married 50 years and it was the best time of our marriage.
You are
So
so lucky to have had that, because
no
so many
question.
couples have never, being married for a long time, one of them takes ill, you can't enjoy the things that you should have done, would have done, could have done together. You've
Exactly.
managed all this. But I want to go back one step, because when I was in New York, you had just written a book, which I am actually going to show you. I have still
I
got
was just, that's exactly the book.
in and around New York. And I want to tell you, for all the times that I traveled to New York, I used this book. It was like my Bible. So
Well,
thank
thank
you for this. But the other thing that I want to just come through to you about is how you really started off with, in your teaching, you made up stories or slides for the school children of what they could do in New York if they were ever allowed to, or perhaps went to New York. So you started a story
and I
for
took
them,
them.
and then you took them. But this was a wonderful idea of educating and being educational, but with fun. That
I'm going to cry when I think about this. Just 2 days ago, I received an email from a younger than me woman. She has grown children.
Everybody's younger than us.
But this woman, Judy, was one of my favorite students. And I just want to tell you that her position in career is she is head of the international studies for one of New York State's universities, the University at New Paltz, where two of my daughters went. Let me just tell you what I did with my students, because I still should write a book about it. I created a travel project. Now, you know, I was teaching French and Spanish.
Spanish, correct.
And I was teaching it was middle to lower income community. And these parents had, I say escape New York because that's the word they used. They didn't live in nice parts of New York City. And when they were able to get out of the Bronx or Brooklyn or wherever they were living not so well, to buy a home in the suburbs, they never went back. Anyway, I took my students to New York City every year of my life. I would take 40 kids alone on the train. It was crazy. I took them to the Museum of Modern Art, and they saw Guernica when it was here, and took them to the Metropolitan, and it was a whole wonderful thing. But I created a travel project where they could imagine spending a week in a city that spoke a language that they were studying. And every 2 weeks they had an assignment. They had to eat in a restaurant. They had to go to the Capitol and see sights. And they had to go to a museum and see an artist who was from the country. They had to go to a sporting event. So they had this whole, from September until, let's say, May. And at the end of the year, they would write up this whole thing. Now, the kids who weren't good students just did pictures with labels underneath them. The brilliant students, and I had a few, created these stories that they were models in Paris, or they were undercover agents for the CIA. They created these imaginary stories and wove in all of this stuff. Now, I say that, and I took them to the library on the alternate Fridays. And in those days, there was no internet.
No.
And we were required to teach them how to write letters. They wrote to the tourist boards. They got packages in the mail of all these maps and stuff. So I did a lot of things. And when I took them to the museums, we did I don't know what you call it, but they had a package of pictures, and they had to find the pictures. And I did what no teacher's supposed to do. I walked them to the front door from the Madison Avenue bus. I let 40 8th graders loose in the Metropolitan Museum you're supposed to go in and you're supposed to be toured. It was awful. So after that, I let them loose, and they had to meet me 1 hour and 10 minutes later on the front steps. Well, I never lost a student until I got to the train at the end of the day, when somebody would go visit their cousins in Brooklyn or something. But all during the day, they went with me through Central Park. It was wonderful. And they had to play this game where they found, El Greco's Toledo, or they found all these different pictures. And they thought they were getting something over me because they cheated. So you'd have these kids say, "Did you see the El Greco? Where am I going to find Renoir's this?" It was so funny that here they are talking about these wonderful things, I can't find the Degas statue. And that's how they're cheating on me. It was wonderful. They learned a lot. And by the way, the day my daughter Sharon graduated from NYU, we went out for lunch afterwards. And then Sharon, Bob, and I went to the Museum of Modern Art. And there is a student with her parents who also graduated NYU that year, and with her parents. And the student introduced me, and they said, "Mom, this is Ms. Lew, my Spanish teacher. She's the one who taught me about this museum that I'm taking."
How wonderful.
So, I mean, I talk about my writing career and I think about it, but what I did of value, that was a wonderful thing.
Students. Yeah. And that was amazing, because education is fine, but you really get I find or have found that you get educated by traveling. And
Yes, of
you were
course.
already traveling with them. You were showing them that there was a world outside of New York City. There was
That's,
a
or
world,
the suburbs.
yeah,
These
it,
kids had never been to New York
yeah.
City.
So it was just
Yeah,
incredible how you worked all this through, and then it changed your life as well because you were
enormously,
establishing for yourself.
enormously changed my life. Well, that book that you hold up
Yeah,
changed my life because Bob and I had some rocky times. And I wrote that, the name of the series of that book is In and Around New York,
yeah,
but it's a romantic weekend
yeah,
series. So Bob joined me at all of these little inns, and we always went, like, we would, I'm saying prices, but we would stay at a low priced inn, but go for lunch and have a drink or sit by the pool at the very, very expensive place that is also in the book.
yeah.
And and that's something that I learned about travel, that I've written many, many stories like that. I always try to give the 2-star. In fact, last summer, my friend Valerie and I rented an apartment in Cannes, and I was invited for dinner, for lunch at the Hotel de Cap Ferrat, Four
I know
Seasons,
it well.
lovely. But it was high season in August. Of course, I can't afford to stay there. Of course, there's no room at the inn. We stayed at a little 2-star in Beaulieu, right on the market square, right within walking distance of the train. And we stayed in a 2-star, but we had lunch. And when she found out we were staying at the 2-star, she invited us for dinner. We had our own lunch, but she invited us for dinner. So we spent the whole day at the Hotel de Cap.
You were 5-star during the day, and at night you went 2-star,
Exactly. And
which is just
which
an
is, and you know, I've always wanted to write a book or an article called The Little Place Next Door, because it's always the way I've traveled. The little place next door has a couple of advantages for anyone who's traveling, particularly like me or you. I'm a woman who travels alone. I don't want to, I go out during the day, but at night, I need to eat near or in the hotel.
yeah.
First of all, I like a couple of glasses of wine. I don't want to be driven around at night. But the thing about the little place next door is you are always in the best neighborhood,
Yeah,
because the 5-star hotel is a block away.
correct.
You can always find a taxi because the 5-star hotel is next door. You
Yes.
can always sit in a gracious lobby because the
Absolutely.
so and you don't have to pay that bill. And so that is one of the secrets for my travel. And I have always been willing. It's funny, I told my cousin when she went to Barcelona, I said, you must go to the Mandarin Oriental and have a drink at the bar. Now, I am always willing to spend whatever it costs to have a drink at a bar at a place like that.
Yes.
I would rather eat a banana or a yogurt on the street
Me too.
instead of dinner and go to that place for a drink. It's a matter of choice. And I heard from your best friend, my sister,
Yes.
that she was saying, well, she told me to go to this fancy place. Well, you know, that's not in my budget. And well, okay, everybody makes their choices, but my choice, I love the calm, the peacefulness, the beauty, the design, the flowers. I love everything that there is about the 5-star place, except I can't afford the price tag. So
And
that's
they've
my
always
choice.
they've usually got a pianist there as well who's tinkling the ivories. So you've got the music, you've got the ambience, you've
And
got
you've
the
got the
drink.
service.
You feel like $1,000,000, and it's not
Exactly.
costing you that. And everybody looks at you because you are well dressed, and everybody's thinking, well, she's mega rich. And then, of course, you go around the corner and
And,
you are in,
and
You're saying
and you walk up to your little tiny room,
absolutely,
and
probably
it doesn't matter. And
probably
it
right
doesn't
at the top of the of the hotel
matter.
or the pension.
I've had people say to me, well, you're not living a real life. And I look at them and I say, my travel life is as real to me as the guy who's taken out the garbage up the block, who for his work flies the Concorde to Paris, stays at some fabulous hotel, a driver picks him up at the airport, all on his expense account. Well, maybe that's not the way his wife normally lives or his children, but it's, that every business person who has that kind of career, they consider it real. It's
Well,
part of their
I
life.
had it. I traveled first class for many, many years, but I could never have afforded it if it was my money,
Exactly.
clients.
Exactly.
But
So it's sort of the same.
yeah, absolutely the same. And I know that you've honed in various areas of writing, and you love spas. You
That's my
love
specialty.
art and antiques, food and wine, culinary, and
I write about anything I love. I
honeymoon.
write about everything I love.
Yeah, but honeymoon kind of places. And
Yeah.
it's all places that I think maybe women look for more than men, because usually women are doing the booking, or if it's the man doing the booking, it's probably his secretary.
That's also true.
Not
But
that many men.
I happen to be writing a book now, and it's a memoir about all of my travels in France, which was
Don't
started.
tell me about it yet, because
Okay,
that's
I'll
going to
wait.
be another story.
I will tell you this about what you're saying. Most of I certainly do it from a female point of view. I certainly write from a little bit of a romantic. Look, I taught kids who came from a tough life, 8-year-olds, eighth graders who were stealing cars, a little girl whose sister happened to have cut my hair the other day, who was being abused. It wasn't so easy. And my travels took me to another world. And I write about that. I write for Wherever Family now. But let me tell you about the spa thing. At a period of time, my children were teenagers. They're 8 years apart. I have three. I had, let's say, a 10-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 15-year-old, and an 18-year-old, or an 8-year-old and a 13-year-old, and a 16-year-old, whatever. And then I was teaching 120 13-year-olds or 14-year-olds who, by the way, got pregnant or whatnot. I found when I went, Harriet took me to my first spa. Harriet invited me to La Costa, Harriet and Jerry was my first spa. And then my neighbor invited me to go with her to Gurney's right here on Long Island, 2 hours away. And I was able to write about Gurney's. I went, I paid for it, I did the whole thing. But I decided that it changed my life. The walk on the beach, the pool classes, the healthy food. Now, I've always struggled with my weight. So, and then those days, you couldn't travel a minute without fried foods and horrible. There was no such thing as healthy vegetarian or any kind of food at the time. So at a spa, I found healthy food. I didn't have to look for restaurants. Everything was included. There are a lot of women who go alone to spas, as I usually do.
Hello.
And
Me too.
hello. And of course, I had discovered massage when I broke my ankle. So I literally created a career, to get massages. And I've written about hundreds of spas. And in fact, I've been in hibernation, self bubble since I came home from Spain in February. Last week, I went to a place that's in the book you held up. I went to Canyon Ranch for the first time. We could talk about that another day.
Wow.
Spas, we can talk about spas on another program. But last week, I literally went to see how health and wellness spas are dealing with the
How
COVID.
are they dealing with it now with the COVID?
Well, first of all, they only are allowed 40% occupancy, and there weren't 20%. I mean, if the place had 126 rooms, there were probably guests in maybe 20 of them. And they took out more than half of the tables in the dining room. So you're walking in this huge, beautiful dining room, and there are 6 tables, and they're 15 feet apart.
Everything is different now.
I'll tell you about it another time, because now I know how they're dealing with the COVID and travel, because people, especially women, especially seniors. I mean, I'm not only a senior, we're elderly seniors if you want. I mean, you
Well,
look great.
no, 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 no. I am not in that category.
Okay.
I am 22. So
Okay,
I
great.
just want you to know.
Okay,
Don't
great.
give me that.
But if you
I may have
listen,
lived, I may have lived a long time, but up there I'm 22, and I'm never ever going to get to 23.
okay, great. But you look fabulous. But I want to tell you that for any women watching or anybody who wants to go in times of COVID, I really learned a great deal about it, and I'd love to talk. I have participated in many webinars over the past 6 months in the hospitality industry. They're usually geared to public relations people, but I tune in and learn from them. And hotel and restaurant industries have tremendously suffered,
Yeah.
but I know that as soon as we get vaccinated, and I'm planning to rent an apartment in Paris next year, please God, if I can, with my friend. And let's hope we can all travel again.
Yeah, I just know that our spas here, because I've got one girlfriend that loves a spa. She and her husband together love, and I look to see where there are wonderful deals of spas, and that is one of the presents that I give her either for a birthday or for an anniversary. But the spas that I've been looking at, none of our spas are open in our area of Andalusia. That
Not
is for sure. COVID has changed everything, and
right.
there's not going to be morbid at all. But now is the time for people who have traveled, like you, like me, people who have written books, like you have done over the years. This is the time to read those books and to go back in time in your memories and enjoy. This is not to be blue and gloomy. This is the time to pick up all those wonderful travel memories of the things that you did and the things that you shared and where you went and how much fun you had and you will have again. And you know what's going to be the most fun? And that is going to be traveling, the planning of traveling.
And by the way, what you're saying is exactly why I started writing last March. Valerie and I had rented an apartment in Cannes
Would you
for
say?
the month of June.
Yeah.
And the two of us share the apartment. It's very reasonable, even in Cannes. It's not on the water, block away, but we had done it and we loved it. We'll do it again. And they canceled. And all I could think of was the south of France. I was living in the south of France in my brain. So I started writing about my first trip there. And then I remembered my first trip transatlantic to France to go to the Sorbonne. And then I remembered my first trip with Bob. And I was so happy at home. I never went anywhere. I still don't grocery shop. I get deliveries or I pick up curbside because I live in the suburbs. They put the they put the case of liquor in the back of my car. They
Oh,
put
well.
clams in the back seat of my car. This is how I shop.
You've got
And
to have the wine.
oh, believe me, I don't forget the wine. And but I've been so exactly happy
Yes.
to have had this opportunity, because when you're in my past boat, I was traveling a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month.
You were
You
hardly
don't
home.
have time to process what you did.
Yes.
I really lived a meal. I have been lucky enough to take my granddaughter to Paris and the Riviera. My other granddaughter, I took her to Spain, and that's why she was at the University of Barcelona. And I'm reliving these wonderful, wonderful events. And I want to tell you that if I never, I won't even go there, but
No, don't even say.
I do not regret one trip, one day, and I had some really bad moments in rental cars and getting lost and losing my car and losing my car keys, and driving in the rain. You have all of these
Oh, sure.
experiences when you travel. But oh my God, if Sandy, if tomorrow I don't wake up, you can say I had the best run ever.
Well, this is what I feel. Today is today. Tomorrow will never come. It was always yesterday.
Right.
And just enjoy every minute and just go back in time, read the books, read the travel books. And so many people have written diaries of what they did. I know I've kept diaries since 1963.
Oh,
Of
do you
all,
have you read them?
oh, sure. And all the places that I've traveled. And I'm sure that there are millions of people in the world that are doing that and have done that. And now is the time. And I know that you've written many articles and many books. And give me an idea, because we're nearly coming to the end of this cup of coffee with me. Just give me an idea of a couple of the names of the books that you have written, and also where people can find Irvina Lew,
Okay, irvinalew.com,
right?
and you spell it IRVINALEW. It's all one word.
Right.
So I'm Irvina Lew at Gmail. If anybody wants to send me a personal hello and a question, or
Right.
invite me to help them plan anything. By the way, Sandy, I just have to go back. Looking back through old pictures, I organized pictures and sent them to my grandchildren and my nieces. And this winter, that was one of my little COVID era things. I found a picture of Paul Bocuse with a Napoleon hat. I mean, you go through your old
Oh,
pictures, you find
absolutely.
treasures.
I want to tell you, I've done the same thing. And I was very friendly with Albert and Michel Roux.
Exactly,
And
exactly.
Michel recently passed away. And I found pictures of Albert Roux and his wife at my apartment when I had a party, and they came for the lunch. And I always said to him, "Oh, Albert, I don't know how I'm going to be able to cook for you," because he was la Gavroche. He
Three
was
star,
the
three
big
star
star. And he
Michelin,
said
right?
to me, "Sandy, a scrambled egg is fine." And I said, "No, no. The difference is that your scrambled egg is very loose. And when I make a scrambled egg, it is nearly to die." But anyway, they came for lunch. But this is going back, and I've actually, in the time that I've been in lockdown, I have been looking at the books, the restaurants that I have been to, the same as the travel.
Wonderful thing. It's a
So
wonderful
just give
thing.
me an idea of a couple of other books
Okay,
that you have written or articles, in case women or even men who are watching this would like to
well,
look it up.
my youngest daughter, Jennifer, is my webmaster. So at irvinalew.com, there
Right.
are maybe dozens. My first book was You Can't Do It All, Ideas That Work for Mothers Who Work. I
Uh-huh.
don't know that your audience will need that. The In and Around New York book
My favorite.
is still, I don't know that maybe there are a couple of inns that are little tiny inns, but every destination in that book, I drove through Litchfield, Connecticut last week. Every destination that's in that book is still a major, beautiful, perfect place. The Hamptons, upstate New York. And the hotels that are in there are mostly, now there may be a few new ones, but they're all still fabulous. And I wrote that book with Bob 1997, but
Wow.
but it's classic
But
now.
you
I
know
mean,
what? You never ever signed that book for me. So the next time I see you, which is going to be sometime next year.
No, the Postal Service is still working. I am going to mail you one.
You
I
will-
will mail you one.
You will be
And
coming.
I'll mail you one signed so that you can give that one away to somebody. I will.
Okay. Well,
I will absolutely do that. And then the
sometime
other
you
things,
come to Spain.
I've contributed to books about spas, healthiest. These are older books, and spas change a lot. I'm looking at all my things. I
Well,
wrote.
don't stretch your neck now, because it's nearly time for me to say thank you. It's been a delight to chat with you. I'm sure that my friends and my viewers are going to enjoy as much as I have. And I'm going to say thank you, IRVINA Lew. And I still call you Vina, which I always will.
Everybody does.
That
It's
is,
more.
IRVINALEW.com is your website. And to my audience, I say, look forward to seeing you next time. We never know who is going to be on a cup of coffee with me, Sandy. And I'm going to raise my cup of coffee and say, IRVINA, where's yours?
I had it. I lost it. I
Well,
must
how
have
could you
left it.
lose it?
I had it
Anyway,
next to me and I put it down somewhere
right.
else.
Well, take care. God bless. And be well and be safe. We will. Now it's a bottle of water. And you know what? It's not clever drinking water out of a plastic bottle. So I'm told medically.
Okay, I'll be bad.
Be a very bad girl. So to everybody, I say, take care. God bless. And see you all soon. Bye-bye.
Salute,
Have a
salute.
good day.
Bye.
Bye-bye. And bye-bye, IRVINA. And good to see you.
Thank you so much, Sandy.
Bye.